everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. I have Andrea Waltz, who is a rejection expert. How are we doing today, Andrea?
I am doing great. How are you, Bruce?
Doing very well. So I'm going to clarify for those people who are listening or going, so does she specialize in giving rejection or does she help us handle rejection? I think it's the latter, that you're going to help us handle rejection. Before we get into, you've got a really impressive history, but tell us what you do now. What's your business now? We'll get into your history in a moment.
So primarily, I spend a large portion of my day sharing the Go for No message, which is the name of my book, Go for No. Yes is the destination. No is how you get there. And so it is all about rejection. It's Go for No sounds sometimes to people like we're teaching people how to say no. And while that's important, this is all about actually dealing with rejection in a different way. So how we do that, really, my husband and I, he's the creator of the concept and really is the main author of the book. We wrote the book together 20 years ago and still to this day are out sharing that message, whether it's at speaking engagements or we're just developing an online course finally, social media, podcasts like this. It's all about getting the word out and teaching people this philosophy.
Yeah, well, you guys, I was researching on your website and stuff, and I actually got tired of reading all of the, credentials and stuff that you guys have. It was just amazing. I got exhausted, so I'm not sure I made it to the very end of the page, but I made it quite a ways down. So, give us a history. How'd you get into showing people how to handle the word no and that kind of thing?
Yeah, because who does that for a living, right?
That's what I thought of was the course.
Right. I mean, I have a Bachelor of Science in Criminal Justice and was going to, my kind of goal back then was to be a crime scene investigator. And I decided that after going through college for 4 years, I really wanted to make money. And at that time, the place that I lived, it was, there's not a lot of positions for that, as you can probably imagine. And they were like, well, you're going to have to intern for a while, which is unpaid, and pay your dues for a few years. And I said, no, I don't want to do that. So really what happened was I met my now husband at our corporate jobs where I was working through college, and he convinced me to quit. And we launched our own company teaching all of our sales, customer service, and management philosophies. Many of these things were things that he had developed over the years. And when you are in a company as an employee, they don't really see you as anything special, right? But when you come from the outside as an outside speaker or trainer or consultant, you look like a genius. Yeah, and so right. Exactly. So, but the Go for No message was something that actually was a very simple little story, something that happened to Richard, but it's been so profound. And it's when we share this with people, they get it and they really understand it. And it happened to him when he was in a sales job. But Bruce, this applies to everybody, even artists of all kinds, whether you're an author or a sculptor. I mean, it just doesn't matter. What happened to him was he was working in a job selling suits for a living. Customer came in and wanted to buy an entire wardrobe of clothing. He helped this guy. He was a clothing salesman. My husband, Richard, sold this guy $1,100 worth of merchandise. And at the end of that great sale, his district manager said, Richard, out of curiosity, what did that customer say no to? To which Richard said, well, he didn't say no to anything. Everything I laid in front of that guy, he bought. And the district manager then said, well, then how did you know he was done? And that question really kind of was the epiphany, because Richard in that moment realized that he was done because the guy had hit his mental spending limit. Okay. Once he kind of reached this $1,100, it was like, hey, you're done. I ring you up. I send you on your way. Yeah. And the district manager told my husband, hey, if you could learn to embrace no, if you could learn to get over your fear of no and go for no and hear no a lot, you're not a bad salesman, but you could be one of the great ones. Wow. And that was kind of the turning point for him, and really changed his career. And then when we finally met, he told me that story, and I was like, that makes sense to me because I don't like hearing the word no.
Right.
And I always shut my sales down. I always have, no matter where I've worked, what job. Even I think as entrepreneurs, in every way, we let our self-imposed limitations guide us, right,
Yeah.
in terms of what we're going to do.
Right. And a lot of times that's because we figured out, okay, I wanted to make this much money off of this customer and he's hit that limit, or it's within whatever
Right.
I thought I was going to get. So I'm good now. I don't need to, no, we don't want to push him and make him mad or make her mad or what have you. Right. So that's
Yes.
an interesting way. Go for no. I've heard of the similar concepts, through, some of the big speakers in the world, but you don't think of it that way, that you actually want to go for no. Cause like you said, nobody wants to go for a no. So, how should we be handling? Okay, first I want to ask: did your husband run out in the parking lot and get a no? Say, do you need one more thing or anything like that? Let's get back to
No.
this for a minute.
No. Well, that is an actual great question. And then that moment, the other comment that was made by the district manager was, "Do you know where that customer is right now?" And Richard said no, and he said he's down at the other end of the mall spending the rest of the money that you wouldn't let him spend because right, it was your mental spending limit there.
Yeah.
So, in fact, in our book Go for No, we have a one of the scenarios. It's a fable, by the way, so it's
Right.
not a straight up just kind of nonfiction informational book. It's a
Right.
fable, and one of the stories in the fable is about a woman who owns a gallery, and she owns an art gallery, and their goal of this art gallery is they never let anybody walk out of the gallery without saying no at least once, even if it's, hey, do you want to sign up for our mailing list? Do you want to see this piece? Do you want to this? Do you want to that? Right? It's we have to be okay as entrepreneurs and artists to get those no's. And a lot of times we don't, people who gravitate towards these types of things aren't natural born salespeople, and they
Right.
don't like rejection.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, I could think of, you could almost make a good game of that. You could say, do you want another cup of coffee? Anything to get a no, that would be,
Yeah.
that's a great trick there. But so artists are famous for, we reject ourselves. We actually don't need anybody else to help us. We're famous at, rej- and I struggled with this my whole life. So it's not, it doesn't matter who it is. So how do we handle rejection in general? The word no, most of us, especially artists, because we're so attached to the work that we've done. If we've done an illustration for somebody, we've poured hours into that for them to say, no, I don't like it. I always tell people when I'm a caricature artist at events and weddings. And when I do weddings, I make a fun of it. I go, I'm not Walmart. Don't feel you can bring your drawing back if you don't like it. Just have another drink and you'll be okay. So how do we
It's
handle that
funny.
as artists?
Yes. Well, and artists are it's a whole elevated kind of echelon of people in relationship to rejection, because I have to tell you, Bruce, we work with people who are just in businesses of all kinds, insurance salespeople, direct sellers, fundraisers, right? People that just have to pick up the phone and ask, hey, do you want to donate? You want to help out
Yeah.
all day long? And that gets tedious, and it gets, wears on your soul, the no's over and over. And so, but as artists, it's that taking it personally thing. I mean, this is we often say like, oh, don't take it personally. The rejection's not personal. This is your personal work. It is you, especially actors. I mean, you walk in for a role, it's hard to say they aren't rejecting you, whether it's your look or how you
Right.
came across in the audition,
Yeah.
right? And so that not taking it personally becomes huge, and it really, how you deal with it is to really embrace it. And one of my favorite books that I think goes hand in hand so well with Go for No is a book called The Four Agreements. And one of the four agreements is all about not taking it personally. And I have found that if you validate someone else's opinion and you really come to learn and respect it, you actually kind of free yourself from trying to get validation from that other person, which we all kind of do as artists. We know we want people to like our work. We want people to give us good feedback. And it's really stepping away from that validation and saying, whatever the opinion is, bad or even good, it is really not about us. And